Welcome to the GameSpy technology screencast for the Saki Web Admin Panel. Saki is our cloud data storage service, which provides flexible storage of arbitrary data on the GameSpy backend, stores data that can be global or player-specific, and can be accessed or updated by web services or by game clients using the Saki service. Game data can include most common data types as well as files. The topmost object in the Saki hierarchy is the schema, which is a collection of tables. You define your game schema through the Saki Web Admin Panel. Your game then accesses the database you've defined by using the Saki client. A record is one row in one of your Saki tables. Each table has a set of fields, and each field defines an atomic data value stored in each of that table's records. In SQL terminology, a Saki field is like a column, and a Saki record is like a database row. For more information on the Saki client in general, read the Saki overview at the GameSpy Technology Wiki at docs.poweredbygamespy.com/wiki/Saki client overview. To begin using the Saki Web Admin Panel, first sign up for a free account at poweredbygamespy.com. Once you've logged in to poweredbygamespy.com, click on the Tools link in the upper right corner next to the Developer Dashboard link and select Saki. The next page asks you to choose a game from a list of existing game IDs. We'll be looking at the game we set up during the Atlas Web Admin Panel screencast. Selecting a game will take you to the Game Table screen. This is your Saki schema. If you've created an Atlas rule set, you'll see a table for each Atlas category with the stats you've defined for that category. Never edit Atlas rule set table structures from the Saki Web Admin Panel or your Atlas rule set will stop functioning. You cannot add or delete Atlas fields in the Saki Web Admin Panel, but you can, however, change values from the Data View feature, which we'll take a look at near the end of this video. Rule set modifications via the Atlas Web Admin Panel will be reflected in these tables automatically. We'll cover creating and managing new Saki tables later in this screencast. Most of the settings in a table should be self-explanatory and can be reviewed at docs.poweredbygamespy.com/wiki/Saki Web Admin Panel #Saki Web Admin Panel tables if needed, but there are a couple of columns that we'll talk about here. Owner type indicates whether the table is profile-owned or backend owned. In profile-owned tables, each record contains a value that identifies the profile that owns that record. In backend-owned tables, the backend owns all of the records in the table. Public and owner permissions show the settings for permissions, which we'll get to in a moment. Limit per owner shows the maximum number of records that any user can have in the table at any one time. If the value is 0, then there is no limit. A value like 5 might indicate that a player can have 5 game saves, for example. Table permissions are the security features in Saki that control the ability to create, read, update, or delete records. There are 4 permissions: public create, public read, owner update, and owner delete, each of which can be set to true or false. Public create, if set to true, allows anyone to create records in the table. This will typically be set to true for profile-owned tables so that clients can create new records, and it will typically be set to false for backend-owned tables. Public read, if set to true, allows anyone to read any record in the table. If the permission is set to false, records can only be read by their owners. This permission can be used to control whether player-specific data stored in a table is public or private. Owner update is used to control whether or not a record can be updated by its owner after it has been created and is typically set to true. This may be used for a table where player preferences are stored. If the permission is set to false, then an owner can only create records, not update them. This may be used for a table in which records are used to record one-time events. Owner delete, if set to true, allows players to delete records that they have created in the table. If, for example, records in the table correspond to items that the player has collected, a record can be deleted if the player sells or loses an item. If the permission is set to false, records cannot be deleted. This could be used in a table where each record stores a player's high scores, which would never be erased. There are several buttons to the left of each table, most of which, like columns, should have obvious functions. The Fields button brings you to a separate page that allows you to edit the list of fields for that table. Never edit fields for Atlas-generated Saki tables. The Reset button is used to delete all of the records from a table. Using Reset will permanently remove all existing data in a table, which can be useful for clearing pre-release QA data, but obviously should not be used post-release. It is, however, okay to reset Atlas-generated tables. For example, you may want to clear your game's leaderboards when your game releases. Use Reset with extreme caution, as the removed data will be gone forever. The delete button is used to remove a table from the list of tables associated with a game. A deleted table and all its data is removed forever and cannot be recovered. Only use delete with extreme caution. You can also export a table, which we'll get to in a moment. The Add a New Table box can be used to create a new table. The table ID and the owner type must be specified when creating a new Saki table. All other properties can be set after the table has been created. Profile-owned tables contain an owner ID field, which identifies the profile ID for the GameSpy account of the player who owns that record. These are used for tables that store per-player information, which means that each record in a profile-owned table is owned by one player. The backend owner type is used for tables to store non-player specific data. This owner type could be used in a game like an RPG to change the inventory in a town's stores without having to patch the game. After entering the table ID and owner type, click Create Table to add the table to the list of tables for the current game. The Export button allows you to create and save an XML file that you can use to recreate an existing table. When you export the table, the file name will be the table ID. To recreate an exported table, you would simply import the XML file. When you import a table, the file name will become the table ID, so plan accordingly. If you have separate GameSpy game identifiers for different SKUs for your game title, you can use the export-import features of the Saki web admin panel to copy your Saki schema from one game to another. To view and edit the list of fields for a particular table, click the Fields button to the left of that table on the Game Tables page. This will open up the Game Table Fields page for the selected table, where you'll see a list containing each of that table's fields. The list of fields will have one or more fields that were automatically created by Saki in addition to the fields that you create. Every table has a record ID field, which assigns a unique integer value to each record in that table. If a table is profile-owned, then there will also be an owner ID field that stores the GameSpy profile ID of the player who created that record. If a table has its rateable property set to true, then there will be two additional fields, num ratings and average rating, which support Saki's basic content rating functionality. If you've implemented the Saki rateability feature in your game, the num ratings field stores the number of times that players have given that record a rating, and the average rating field stores the average of all the ratings given to that record so far. The fields interface is similar to that for tables, except that here we have type, which contains the field's data types such as integer, string, etc., max length, which is the maximum length for strings and binary data, and default, which can be used to specify a default value when the field's value is not specified at record creation. Like tables, fields can be edited or deleted using the buttons to the left. The Add a New Field box at the bottom of the Game Table Fields page is used to add new fields to the current table. We'll be creating a table to store and retrieve screenshots. First, create a new profile type table called Screenshots. Click Create Table, and then when the screen refreshes to show the new Screenshots table, click that table's Fields button. Our Screenshots table only comes with the default Record ID and Owner ID fields, so we need to add a couple things to make the table work. The first field we make will store the name of the screenshots. Enter name for the field, select ASCII string for the type, make the max length 30, leave the default value blank, which will make the default value an empty string, and click Add Field. Name the second field File ID, and we'll also enter File ID for the type. Leave max length and default value blank, and click Add Field. File ID is a special Saki data type used to store the ID associated with files uploaded via Saki. Refer to the Save and Retrieve Screenshot sample included in the GameSpy Open Client Files package for file upload and download implementation details. When you're done, your table should look something like this. The final feature of the Saki web admin panel we'll be reviewing today is the View Data option for tables, which you can find at the bottom of the Table ID column. View Data allows you to search, view, and edit your live Saki data from your browser. We'll be viewing Saki data recorded for our GameSpy Technology Unity Leaderboards tutorial. The table we're looking at comes complete with data reported by Atlas, including unique nick, total numbers of wins, losses, and the win-loss ratio for the two. Double-clicking on a field lets you live edit your Saki data, which we could use to manually review and deter cheating. Here, we're changing Barney's win total. Once you make your changes, click Save. You can also add rows by clicking the Add button or delete them with the Delete Selected button. When adding rows, be sure to click Save Now. However, when you delete rows, you only need to confirm the deletion. Finally, you can search for records and tables. This is especially useful for a released game where you may have thousands of rows. Click the Select Search Field drop-down menu to select a field by which to filter your search. In this example, the fields are the Atlas stats for this game. Then enter your search term. We'll choose Unique Nick and look for Barney. Then click Execute Search, and look, there he is. As an important note, if the data you're reviewing is from an Atlas table and you've made any rule set changes since the last time you viewed the table in the Saki Web Admin panel, you won't see those changes reflected until you click the Reload Configuration button. That completes the GameSpy Saki Web Admin panel demonstration. For more information, sign up for a free GameSpy account and check out our developer forums and wiki at poweredbygamespy.com.